Welcome back to another video. So today I am back to talk more Kagurabachi. It has been a while since I've talked about Kagurabachi on the channel. I apologize. I've been just getting distracted with a lot of Chainsaw Man and JJK, and those take priority over Kagurabachi. But I've been keeping up with Kagurabachi over the last few weeks, and Kagurabachi has been so good. So very good, especially for a brand new debut manga, own debut solo manga for Takeru. This shit is so good, and I wanted to talk to y'all about everything that's happened because right now we're in a little break. I think it was a 2-week break, and it gave me time to really reread everything, catch up, and finally feel like I can actually talk about it in a video. And I want to talk about everything that I have missed in the last few chapters. I want y'all to know, last time I reviewed this manga was chapter 3. So it's been a while, right? And we're currently on chapter 16, awaiting chapter 17. So I want to go through everything that I missed during that period of time and just talk about Kagurabachi and why Sojo versus Chihiro is so good. And I felt like it was hyped up perfectly. It was built up to perfectly. And I want to go into detail about everything and just nerd out with y'all for a little bit. Kagurabachi really looking like it's gonna be a top manga, like a really top shonen manga. And this whole arc, this whole Sojo versus Chihiro arc, Char retrieval arc, whatever, has been great. And so I'm going to review every chapter since chapter 3. So I'm going to go into chapter 4 and we're going to go all the way to chapter 16. So buckle up. I don't know how long this video is going to be. I'm going to be summing up some stuff smaller than other sections, but the main thing I want to get through this video is mostly the Sojo versus Chihiro fight. So last I left off was in chapter 3, which was like the big first fight for Chihiro, but it wasn't like crazy, so I'm kind of gonna gloss over it. But basically Chihiro beats the Daruma guy and he starts asking the Daruma guy like, yo, where is the enchanted blade Cloud Gauger? And then after that, we actually cut away to Chihiro and Char back in the hub with Hinao, and they're all like just talking and chilling. And so Chihiro decides to take Char like on a drive. I think they're going to like go get food and stuff like that and get fresh air. And so they're like driving and they start talking a little bit, and Chihiro's just like wondering like, why did that guy say that about Char and her mother? And then instead of like questioning her, he actually decides to just get her food, right? And so they're driving, and then we cut away to Shiba with the Daruma guy, and then Shiba's like, I'm gonna ask the questions, you're gonna give me an answer, like, you know where the enchanted blade is? And then Daruma guy's like, nah, I don't know anything about that. And then Shiba's like, yo, you better cut the shit, because I know you know that shit. And he like steps on his foot, and like immediately like a shockwave comes and it kind of like fucks up his foot. And then the Daruma guy is like, if I talk, we're both dead, and the power behind it is far greater than you can fathom. And then we cut away back to Chihiro grabbing food for Char, and they're just like having like some fun like banter, right? And then we actually cut away to the stuff when shit gets real, right? And so we cut away to this guy saying, thanks for the report. That Daruma wielding moron, I told him quite explicitly to be discreet. So you sat back and watched the whole thing and had the gall to come back here without tailing the kid. And he's talking to like one of the like minions, one of the goons that were working with the Daruma guy. And then this guy is saying like it's time to change course and it's time to tee up and shit. And then we cut back to Chihiro and Char talking about like, yo, I'm happy. My mama told me a million times to have a good life, and today I'm finally happy being around you. And then it looks like Char's about to say something to Chihiro, but then Chihiro gets another call from Shiba, and Shiba explains to Chihiro that their next target is Genechi Sojo, and he got this information out of the Daruma guy. And you see like when he was like trying to get information out of the Daruma guy, he kept on constantly doing shockwaves and shockwaves on his foot, and you can see like his foots are bloodied up and it's inside of the ground and shit. And they learned that he has Cloud Gauger. And while this happened, while Chihiro's on the phone, we actually see like these guys in a car and a motorcycle next to him that look the exact same. And then we see like a bunch of swirls on the ground, kind of giving like this Junji Ito type of vibe. And then we see all those guys start twirling into like this weird amalgamation. And then they realize like, yo, there's the kid that got one of the enchanted blades. And then Chihiro realizes like, oh shit, like, I'll be right back, bro. And so Chihiro gets ready to start fighting, and all the freaking like lone guys start heading towards Chihiro and start overwhelming him. But then Chihiro manages to like get out the car with Char. The guy that was there realizes like, oh, he has an enchanted blade. The information was accurate that I got. Information that he got was actually from like a bounty website that put a bounty on Chihiro and Char. And so the guy starts chasing after Chihiro, and Chihiro starts like doing big ass slashes, like killing multiple of the clones in one shot. But then the guy starts monologuing saying, the enchanted blades, I've witnessed their true powers in battle. It's quite stupendous. They had the power to end that hell on earth. And the hell on earth he's talking about is the war. And he says, well, this is a relief. Apparently not all 6 swords have such great powers. Or perhaps this one's wielder is merely still immature. So we basically like talking shit about like, yo, like I've seen actual hell and this enchanted blade. You're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy. And so they all start to jump Chihiro. And then he starts getting worried about Char. And then right when he's about to grab Char, there's this random other ugly ass dude that pops up, and he actually puts his hand in front of Chihiro, and Chihiro's like shocked, like what, like where did this guy come from? And then right when that happened, he gets stuck like in a genjutsu. He starts seeing like visions of like his dad, like him eating dinner with him and then him dying, and then him eating dinner with him and then him dying again, and him eating dinner again and him dying. So this guy's ability that we learn is that he's able to like make people fall into like trauma, like have a good moment and immediately fall into trauma. And for the user, it can feel like hours, but for everyone else in the outside world, it was only like a few seconds. And he says like, oh, you trying to hide her in the car? That's so stupid. My sorcery involves psychological induction. I can track a person by their brainwaves, and when I'm close enough, I can mess with them a bit, like just now, to call up their trauma. And he's like talking that shit like, can't stand up, that's normal, your brain's manipulated. And then they say that, so this is the last surviving Kono guy. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that. Kono guy. And they're talking about Char, and they're talking about like, yo, should we eat her? And being like, no. The guy's like, no, bro, don't be an idiot, we want the money besides. And then the guy's like, what does Sojo even want with this kid? And he actually shows, and this shit's kind of brutal, I ain't gonna lie, I was not expecting this, right? The guy grabs on Char's leg and like fucks that shit up, like boom, like you see it, he really fucked that shit up, right? And then he explains that the Konogai clan does have special powers, and it shows that like Char's leg started healing. So her like clan has this like ability for them to heal themselves, and it's painful. Like I'm looking at it, like you can even see from her mouth and her tears, like she feels all that pain. So she's able to heal, but that doesn't stop her from feeling the pain of like this person really fucking up your leg. And then it's talking shit to the kid, like blame it on your blood, like this is why we're gonna be doing this. And then the guy starts to pick up Chihiro's sword, and then they about to like kill Chihiro and kill Char, but then Chihiro has another sword, knocks his sword out of the guy's hand, grabs it, and says like, that day is what drives me. You just made the reason clear. It's basically saying like, you know, that you thought that trauma would like make me not want to fight, bro. All it did was make me want to kill you more, bro. And then right when he says that, right, he actually cuts off the dude's head, and then he goes on a fucking like flurry, slicing through all the clone guys, and he actually manages to hit the actual one and saves Char. So they're after you because of your special physical powers, and you didn't want to tell me because you were afraid I'd take advantage of them, right? But just then in the car, you were about to tell me because you thought you could trust me. He understands her and gives her like food and says like, I'm sorry you had to go through that. And then Char's like accepts the apology, like it's okay and shit like that. And so Chihiro puts Char on his back, and they're about to like head out of there, but then there's like 4 people there about to jump them, so he's kind of fucked because this man's like really tired, right? But Chihiro's still on business. I love how Chihiro stands on business, bro. He don't care if there's like 5 people in front of 10 of them, and he don't care if he's been through a lot. He be standing on business, right? And right when he's about to fight all 4 of them, there's this guy that shows up saying like, let's put that away. And then he actually ends up beating all of the guys there, right? And they also notice that the guy has a badge, and this guy is basically part of a special police task force in this universe. I know they're called a Konombi or Konombi or something like that, and they're basically sorcerers that protect civilians and shit like that. And this person also knows about Chihiro, and his name is Mr. Azami. They were like friends with like Chihiro's dad and Shiba and the whole family, and he's basically like a captain that works for the government. And so they end up going back to their hub, and everyone's there, Shiba, Hanao, and they're all chilling, just talking and shit like that. And then this chapter is basically like an info dump where basically Shiba is trying to tell Azami that Chihiro can fight and like he's strong and he's gonna be okay. And then Azami actually gives them information that the big shots at the underworld will hold their annual black market auction, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce it. It's right there on the text. It's on the screen. I can't pronounce that. And then they said Rokihiro's legendary Shunichi of the 6 enchanted blades is up for auction, submitted by, and it cuts off. Find out that the one that submitted it is Sojo, right? And then we also get to see a panel where we get to see one of the guys that attacked Rokihiro and Chihiro and stole the blades back in the day. We actually see the guy, and you know it's the guy because he has the tattoo on his hand and shit. We see that Sojo's having a meeting with those 2 other people that were part of the whole raid, and we don't even know how many people were really part of the raid. All we saw was that it was like 3 people. It was a girl and those 2 guys, and one of them had the tattoo and stuff. And then now we know it's also like Sojo's also part of that group, so we don't even know now how many people are part of that group, but just know that like that group is having like a 3-person meeting right now with Sojo. And so Azami's basically giving an info dump on Sojo, explaining that like he's been blacklisted by my group and he's been a menace for more than a decade, and then also telling Chihiro like he's out of your league, like you cannot fight him, don't even like try to fight him. And I also raised the bounty Sojo put on you, so you're not gonna have to worry right now. Just like, don't fight Sojo, leave him to us, right? And then we get to see that Zombie has a picture of him, Shiba, and Rokihiro on his phone. So like that tells you once again, like, yeah, they're all basically family. Like they're all really close and they really like fuck with each other, right? And so Azami's telling him like, yo, we're gonna stop the auction, we're gonna beat Sojo, we're gonna get all the weapons, so like don't worry. And so the next chapter, right, we actually get to see the Daruma guy's backstory, and we learned that his name is Narasaku Madoka, and he's talking about how they call me Daruma because I'm a sorcerer who like is able to explode Daruma and shit. And we actually get to see what Shiba said to him. So I thought Shiba was gonna kill the guy. He did not kill him. He told him like, yo, like, what you gonna do? Like, start a new life. And then Daruma's like, nah, I can't start a new life. Like, I fucked that up a long time ago. And then she was like, yo, like, if you have regret, that means you still have a shot, like you still care. And so the Daruma guy calls his sister like, yo, sis, it's me. And the sister's like, yo, I don't want to talk to you again. Like, I'm tired of you. And then the Daruma guy's like, no, I don't want to be a sorcerer anymore. I just want to see you and see my mom. Like, I'm done with that shit. And then the sister's like, you know what? Yeah, I'm glad you want to stop being a sorcerer. We can do something. Like, we can hang out. And so Daruma guy's about to head to this car to meet up with his sister. And then right when he gets in the car, he sees that his sister has been stabbed. And then he's thinking like she's dead. And then right when he sees that, he sees Sojo in the back and he also gets stabbed. And then Daruma's like, my sister, like, how did you know about her? Like, how did you know? Like, she didn't do anything. And then Sojo's like, these deaths are the cost of not finishing your work. And the way that the Takaru draws the characters, like the art in Kagurabachi is amazing. I'm gonna talk about it more because you're gonna see more and more panels, but like, I love the art, I love the close-ups, I love like his way that he draws people, especially like Sojo. I love the art, or like the kind of like the makeup on his face, the paint in his hair. Really cool. And so when Daruma hears these deaths, he realizes like, yo, are you talking about my mom? You killed my mom too? And then he realizes like, oh man, everyone's dead. Like if I'm going down, you're going down with me. Like, I don't care. And he like spawns like a Daruma on his neck and basically is about to blow up, exploding the car. And then we see that the car didn't explode and Sojo just walks out, and we see that Sojo throws Daruma. And you can see that he's all covered in ice and shit. So we know that his sword has some ice powers. And then Sojo says that woman was just unconscious. She's still alive. You never finished anything properly. If you've chosen a path in life, at least commit one measly lifetime to it. One kill. And it's kind of fucked up because that means like his sister was still alive. And then he just like blew himself up and blew her up, because right after when Sojo says that, the car blows up because of Daruma. And so Daruma ends up killing himself and his sister. Basically, Sojo killed them, but it's like fucked up that it turns out like he's gonna be the one that actually kills his sister, and she could have lived if he didn't do that blowing up shit, and he just like died himself. Man, that really sucks. And then we also get to see that one ugly guy from the last like 2 chapters I was fighting Chihiro. We get to see that he actually had a brother that witnessed that shit. And then when the brother witnessed that, he actually went to Sojo and said like, I want you to kill the boy with the scar for me. And then Sojo says, sure. And then he ends up like grabbing the little brother. It actually forces him to use his powers on Sojo, because they both have the same power where they could like put trauma on a person. And so Sojo sees something. He sees like a kid version of himself and sees like a bunch of dead people. And he says like, that felt like such a long time, but it was only a few seconds, huh? What fascinating sorcery. And then we see that after that, he ends up like killing the brother and then starts walking. And he goes inside of this shop, and it's the hub that Chihiro's at. And then like Chihiro immediately grabs Hinao, moves out the way, and immediately tries to like immediately blocks the blow from Sojo. And then Sojo's like, yo, you're fast, bruh. And then Chihiro realizes that like, yo, this is Cloud Gouger. Like, this is the guy that they was talking to me about. And then Chihiro's like, run Hinao. And then immediately Sojo activates Mei and like fucking explodes like Chihiro across like multiple rooms. And then it's like, don't tell me you're dead. Like, I came all this way so we could battle with 2 enchanted blades. Or was that just a rumor of a new enchanted blade? And then Char sees Sojo and looks like shocked. Like, looks like in shock. You can see like the trauma coming back to her head. And then Char's like, what about Chihiro? And then Chihiro says like, you're Sojo, huh? Is your sword stained with the blood of evildoers? And then Sojo's like, that doesn't interest me. And then Chihiro's like, I see. And then he gets like flashbacks of what Azami said. He said he's out of your league. And then Chihiro activates Inten, and then they start teaming up. And he says, then you have no builders wielding it, bruh. And then Sojo's like, yeah, that's good. Like, bring that shit on, bro. Let's run this shit, bro. I ain't gonna lie, bro. Oh my god. Sojo in this chapter was the definition of on business. When I saw this, I was like, yo, that's how you introduce a character, bro. This man came in, right? beat the last villain easily that Chihiro struggled a little bit with, right? And then went to the little brother of that dude that had that power that fucked up Chihiro with the trauma, ate that bitch, and then killed the dude and used that as motivation to like basically tell like, yeah, I remember why I'm doing all this shit. And then pulled up on Chihiro's crib and then bitch him out like that, bro. That's when I was like, oh yeah, Sojo's him. Sojo's like actually like a cool ass villain, bro. And he got that shit on the fit. It was cool as fuck, right? So we go into the next chapter, right? And we actually get to see Shiba and Azami having a conversation about Cloud Gouger and talking about the whole auction and that, telling about how a 2 enchanted blades fight, it can like destroy like a whole city, and it can also ruin the legacy of Rokihira, right? And so it's once again, this chapter is kind of setting up like, yo, like it's really important to Chihiro and other people to not have enchanted blades hurt people in public, because the enchanted blades have like a 50-50 reputation. Because one is that, oh, these blades ended the war, but also these blades are so powerful that they can literally create hell on earth. So they want to keep Rokihiro's reputation up and the family legacy up and not have people afraid of these blades and shit like that. And so we actually cut back to the whole Chihiro versus Sojo fight, and Chihiro starts having all these thoughts in his head, like all these thoughts about Sojo, the location of the other weapons, like what is a Hasaku, and then he thinks about his dad, and then he just starts getting angry. And then we also get to see Sojo's thoughts, and then Sojo's like nearly unscathed, that Mei was a lightning bolt, even a sorcerer couldn't withstand it, was the power of his enchanted blade. And he starts asking him questions like, so how is it you possess an enchanted blade I've never heard of? And then Chihiro like looks at the door and sees that like, yo, like if I go to the door, he's probably gonna follow me because he's probably fixated on me. And so they both walk out the door and they end up jumping up, about to attack each other. And then Chihiro, one thing about Chihiro is that since he knows about all the weapons and swords because of his dad, he knows what their abilities are, so he's not shocked by any of their abilities. We see that Sojo activates Yu and then tries to hit Chihiro with ice. Chihiro like ends up bolting towards Sojo and actually goes behind him and tries to hit him from the back, pause, and then he actually like, Sojo actually blocks the shit. And then Chihiro like backs up and is like, oh man, at least I create some distance. And he like, Chihiro can tell like he's miles stronger than me, he's even short of breath, and he wasn't even going top speed just then. And then Chihiro's also kind of recovering from like his last few fights. Like I think this all happened in the same day, so he's recovering from his last fight, so he can't really fight at full power, and he's a little struggling a bit, like his arm is shaking and shit like that. And so Sojo says, I truly love Rokihiro. The weapons he created were exalted to feel a closer affinity to them. I read everything I could find about him, and just recently Cloud Gouger fell into my hands. It was a dream come true. I was so happy, but only for a moment. Now back to my question. Why does a punk like you have an enchanted blade that even I've never heard of? Where'd you get it? And then Chihiro's like, I don't have to answer to you. And then Sojo's like, that's cool. Then at least tell me why you wield the sword. And he's like, I want to know if you're worthy of it. I'll be pissed about Chihiro. Like, why are you gonna tell me if I'm worthy of my dad's sword, bro? Who are you, bro? And then Chihiro thinks about his dad. It says to defeat evil and protect the weak always. And I just love how when Sojo heard that shit, he had this face like, oh my god, man, what the hell, bro? Like he's tired of that boring ass response, bro. That, oh, I gotta protect the weak and shit. Like he did not want to hear that shit, bro. And he says, I knew it. I'm the only one who understands Rokihiro, bro. All y'all don't know Rokihiro for real. That man is basically a man that made weapons, and he a demon just like me, bro. He want to destroy the environment just like me, bro. And he jumps off the building, and he's actually about to destroy all like and hurt all the people that are on the bottom, right? With his like with electricity. And so he's about to like hit everyone with electricity, and then we get a flashback of what Azami says about how, oh, if civilians get hurt by the enchanted blades, then people are gonna look at Rokihiro different, and his reputation is gonna go down, and people are gonna realize, and his reputation would crumble. And so Sojo's about to hit them all with this like powerful lightning strike. He's about to hit them all with Mei, and right when he's about to do it, right, it looks like he's killed everyone there, but then he actually like, the cloud goes away, and it turns out that Chihiro is the one that absorbed all of the damage of Mei instead of everyone else. And even Sojo's like surprised, like, yo, like I didn't hit nobody. And then Chihiro explains that it's the same as a lightning rod. Meeting electricity with electricity, a lightning rod attracts lightning by emitting electricity from its tip. And then Sojo's like, oh, so he drew the lightning by emitting electricity from his katana, so his enchanted blade has lightning too. But more importantly, that means he was the lightning rod. Like he was like realizing like, yo, that man tanked my blast, bro. And then Sojo's like, you think you pulled one on me? I could just do it again. And then he tries to do it and it doesn't work. And then he realizes And especially after Chihiro says like, yo, after you use May, you have an interval of 10 to 20 seconds to charge. Chihiro's like, you're the one who doesn't understand anything. And then Sojo's like, yo, quit acting tough, bro. You can barely stand, bro. Like, you took that lightning bolt full on. I'm about to beat your ass, bro. And Chihiro's like, yo, 10 to 20 seconds should be long enough for people to escape. And the police, I can't even pronounce that name, bro. I'm sorry. The Konombi, I'm not even gonna pronounce it. I'm just gonna call them the police. And the police should be getting here soon. But before then, he basically like tees up, right? He's like almost about to fall over, right? And then he tees up and says like, Nishiki, like he says like, no matter what, I'ma kill this guy. It don't matter. Even if the police aren't here, I'm gonna do my thing and put this man on the ground. And so he activates like Nishiki, right? And then he's cloaking himself with like more energy. And it like, he even says like, it imbues every punch, every kick with high density spirit energy. So when he does Nishiki, it basically puts like this like wave of energy over him, and he's able to like, he's stronger physically. And so while he's doing it also, you see a bunch of like, I think like cuts and blood start to pop out of him, because right now he's doing this high density body shit when his body's like obviously hurt, like he's not like good right now, right? And so I love the art when you see like, bro, you can really see the struggle on his face. Like you see his mouth and shit, and you see like his face is covered in blood and shit and sweat. Like you can see like this man is hurting doing this shit, bro. And so Sojo's like, don't overdo it, showing off your tricks and shit. And Sojo's just surprised that like he's still conscious, and like, wow, that's crazy that he was able to like tank that. I guess it's gonna take like more than a week to master. So like he's only had this shit not that long, only for a week. And he says, to protect the weak, huh? So that's why you're protecting that kid. What a boring goal. And then we see that Hinao and Char are walking away, right? And then Sojo says, nothing could be more inappropriate to Rokuhiro's weapons of mass destruction. So basically he's saying like, bro, like Rokuhiro is a man that created weapons to destroy the world, not to protect it. And then Chihiro's like, don't you dare talk about my father like that, like teeing up and shit. And we see Sojo like gets ready. And then right when that happens, we see that Chihiro like bolts at him, right? And then it looks like he knocked the sword out of his hand, but then Sojo gets that shit back, right? And then he activates the ice, like an ice attack, to try to hit Chihiro. And I love how Takeru like basically like emphasizes how fast Chihiro's moving, because you see like the black line and you see him get behind Sojo, and I love how you can see like the one little white dot showing like Chihiro's eye and shit, and he's moving that fast, and then Chihiro's like, yo, I got you, bro. And then right when that happens, right, Sojo actually predicted that and actually hits like his sword back to basically like chop off Chihiro's neck. But then Chihiro manages to get out of the way. And then Chihiro's like, bro, he didn't just respond to the speed. He tried to counterattack. One more breath, like I'm almost at my limit. Time to finish this. And then Chihiro turns to his left and sees a car. And he sees Char's leg in the car. So he's like, oh my god, they got Char. And then he's like, I'm the one that dropped the ball. I was so focused on the enchanted blade, it never occurred to me to like have to help Char. And then he looks down at Sojo. And then he thinks about Char. And he's like, nah, bro, there's more important things. And so he bolts after the car like really fast. So just like, don't leave me behind, bro, and activates Mei again to shoot him with electricity. And then the electricity actually ends up getting stopped by this one woman doing this thing named Ganshu and like hitting this rock pillar, stopping the electricity. And then Sojo sees all the police there, like all the different sorcerers and stuff, and he realizes like, damn, there's only like 5 of them. Like, this is the elite force. Like these guys are kind of trash, and I would like defeat them, but the real people, the real niggas are on top. And he looks at the top and then shows that it's Azami and Shiba. And so I think what he's saying right now is that I don't know if he would be able to beat all of them. I doubt it. I don't think he would be able to beat all of them. Like, we know something else later on, that he can fight a lot of people and he does some shit, but I don't think he'll be able to beat Shiba and Azami. So I wonder if that means that Shiba and Azami jumped Sojo, would they be able to beat him? Or would he still be able to beat them even with those two? But we don't know a lot. We still seen some of Shiba's stuff. Like, he could teleport. He's pretty physically strong. But we still haven't seen a lot of Azami yet. All we know is that he got that strength. So I just want to know if like if those two could end up beating him, or Sojo just saying like, I could probably beat them, but it's going to be like high difficulty and it's going to be a lot harder. And so Azami's like, stand by, everyone. Shiba's like, girl, I'm going to go join Chihiro. And then Azami's like, no, bro, don't do nothing, because if you move, he'll move. And then Shiba's like, nah, bro, like, I gotta go help Chihiro. And right when Sojo sees that, he activates this ability called Cool. And then he ends up, like, putting a smoke screen, ends up disappearing. And then we see Chihiro, like, bolting towards the car, bro. And he sees, like, all he sees in his head is Char, right? And he busts through the car, cutting the dude's head off. And all he sees is Char's leg. That's it. So that means that them dudes ripped off Char's leg just to do as a distraction to Chihiro. That is so fucked up, bro. And so Chihiro grabs the guy out the car, and it's so badass, bro. The way that he came through the car, cut the dude's head off, grabbed the dude out the car that was driving and put him on the ground and says, "What have you done with Char?" And the guy's like, "Master Sojo's orders to confuse the enemy. He said to chop her up. It worked before you." And then Chihiro's like, "The other girl, and now where is she?" And the guy like starts laughing, saying like, "Yo, like she on the ground bleeding out and shit." And then Chihiro basically like cuts the dude's head off. And then he said, "The hand holding my father's sword." And then Shiba ends up pulling up and grabbing Chihiro when he starts falling down. And then Chihiro's like, "Mr. Shiba, where's Sojo?" And then Shiba's like, "He cast a coup and vanished." And he like, Chihiro's like, so he's continuing off from what he last said. He said, "The hand holding my father's sword is complete trash." And then we cut away to Char inside of another car with these other two goons, and they see her crying and like sweating and shit like that. And we see that not only did they rip off one of her legs, they ripped off both of her legs, and they're just slowly growing. Like that's so fucked up, bro. I was not expecting that shit at all. Like when they said like she got healing powers or whatever, like when they first showed it off and they destroyed her leg and it grew back, I was like, dang, that's brutal. But when I really saw this and they literally ripped off her whole both of her legs just to use as a distraction, these people are so fucked up, bro. Unforgivable, bro. And so we see Sojo hop in the car, and then they ask him like, "Have you mastered the enchanted blade?" And then like Sojo's like, "Nah, in a real fight it's completely different. I need to deepen my understanding." And then the guy in the back's, "Well, anyway, we have that material back. We can resume the plan." And then like Sojo's like, "Yeah, the plan to surpass Rokihira." And then he's like, one of the goons like, "Are you gonna forget about the new enchanted blade?" And he says like, Sojo's like, "Of course not." And he starts thinking about Chihiro and realizes like, yo, that's probably Rokihira's kid. Like he said, like, "Don't talk about my father." And he's like, "We need to talk more." And he's like referencing Chihiro. And then we see the last panel where Chihiro's like, "I will cut Sojo down." Like he puts that to himself like, yo, he bitched me out, he did me dirty, I will kill Sojo. So after that, right, we actually cut away to see Chihiro in a hospital, and he starts thinking about Char. And then Shiba and Azami pull up and say like, "Yo, he's being reborn," and telling him like, "You've been in a public hospital, but we didn't tell anybody your actual name because there's still people that don't think highly of the Rokihira." They also inform Chihiro that Hinao is alive. And Shiba basically info dumps on this chapter where he says Sojo has some, this word is hard as fuck to pronounce. I'm sorry that there's so many things I cannot pronounce. The Datenseki, that's what I'm gonna pronounce it, Datenseki. Also, anything I mess up pronunciation wise, let me know down in the comment section down below. I really do appreciate when y'all do that. You know what that is, right, Chihiro? And then Chihiro's like, the enchanted blade source material. So we learned that the Datenseki is a unique ore that was discovered during the war, and only 250 kilos of it are currently known to exist. And it's basically a ore that has spirit energy inside of it. And if a person tries to use the Datenseki, it's toxic. And a bunch of spirit energy pours into the user and it destroys the body. But Rokihira is the only person in history to succeed in stabilizing that power to create the blades. And so Datenseki is basically what makes all the swords, what makes them powerful, what makes them have spirit energy abilities and techniques and shit like that. And so Sojo's plan is to try to learn how to stabilize the Datenseki and use it to create more weapons. And the way that they're doing it is that they think that the Kanagi clan, which is like the clan that Char is a part of with their healing abilities, is the way to stabilize the Datenseki ore. And so what they're doing is that they're going up to her and like taking like pieces of her, like skin, muscle. It's so, they don't show it everything, but I'm pretty sure like they're taking like literal like whole fleshes of her. And we even see them like they put it like in a cabinet or whatever, and then they put her back in the cage and shit, and they're injecting that inside of the ore to see if that will like affect it. And we learn later on that her skin and flesh is affecting the Datenseki, but it's not affecting it in a way that it's actually working. So they know that it's like it should be working, but it's not. And we learn later on that it's not working because Char is choosing for it not to work, if you get what I'm saying. I'm gonna it explains more later on, so we're gonna go into more detail about it later. And so after Chihiro hears that, he starts like getting angry, like feeling bad about what happened with Char, and it's like, I'm gonna save her. And then he's asking them, "Where's my sword?" and shit, and they're like, "Yo, it's like in a safe place and shit," and saying like, "Yo, nobody knows as much about the enchanted blades as you. I want you to tell my police members about the enchanted blades so we can fight Sojo more effectively, and you're gonna stay here while we do that." And so a bunch of these other people that are part of the police force, the one that was jumping Sojo and shit like that, was gonna jump Sojo, show up, right? And I'm not gonna really know about, like, talk about them really, because I don't even think we know their names in this chapter really, but they have cool designs. Like, especially my favorite ones are like the one guy with the mask. He kind of reminds me of the dude from Hunter x Hunter, Phaeton, I think that's his name, right? And then also the guy with the mask. He's really fucking weird, but looks really like, he looks cool to me. He gives me definitely that dude from Guilty Gear, Faust. And so they're all having a little bit of banter, and they're all like, oh my god, they're kind of glazing Chihiro a little bit, right? And then they tell him like, yo, you won't be useful for another month. Like, your muscles on your left arm are shredded. Like, you can't really like do shit. They tell him like, yo, Chihiro, you've been knocked out for 5 days. And then Chihiro's like, yo, like, Char's been with them for a whole 5 days. Like, I'm definitely coming with you to stop Sojo. And he says, well, well, unfortunately, our mission is to kill Sojo. Saving that kid isn't part of our assignment. But from what I gather, you're a hothead with a cool facade. Even if we told you to stay put, you probably sneak off, right? So while we kill Sojo, you will save the kid. And then Chihiro's like, yo, I'm in. That's fine with me. Like, I like that Chihiro was able to put aside his revenge to realize like, yo, I need to save Char. That's more important than Sojo, is saving like my new little friend, like my friend that's there. So we actually cut away after that. We Sojo like in this like bathtub sauna thingy, and he says like, father, so that's Rokuhiro's son. And he's like, I never heard of him having a kid, but none of the books say anything about his life after the war. Kid looks like a teenager, and he knows the powers of the enchanted blades. That's not in any publications either. He even has an enchanted blade I didn't know about. It's possible. There's plenty of supporting evidence, but... And then he thinks back to what Chihiro said, to defeat evil and protect the weak always, for his reasoning for using the enchanted blades and shit like that. And then, like, Sojo's like, impossible. Like, that's, like, bullshit. Like, there's no way Rokuhiro is, like, philosophy is that. It should be the philosophy that he thinks it is. And so there's this, like, random goon that pops up that's like, yo, you did us dirty. Like, one of our guys blew up when they used your Datenseki. And they try to jump Sojo, and they get easily cooked. And this is a really cool panel where, like, he's in the bathtub, and it's just, like, covered in, like, the blood of the guys he just hit. And he's like, so control the Datenseki isn't going well. And then he realizes that everything that he, maybe like all the questions he has is probably going to be solved if he asks Chihiro, or like gets Chihiro to tell him, right? Where he finds out more and more about the enchanted blades, because he realizes when he finds Chihiro is realizing more and more of the enchanted blade, right? He gets a sword in his fit from the bathtub area from the grandma, and then right when he walks out, he realizes that all of the police members that were in the hospital are there to like jump him. Like, come outside, bro, we not gonna jump you, bro. We learned the guy that was talking to Chihiro, the main guy with the braid, was like Akuta Hakawara, and he's basically telling like, yo, like, you did all that monologue and talk, and like, you ready for the fight? And then Soldier's like, yeah, I'm all warmed up and shit. And then we actually cut away to see like these goons just talking. They're at the base that Char is at, and they're just like chilling and talking shit, and they see a goldfish, right? And this panel's so fucking cool, bro. They see a goldfish, and then they see like in the corner, they just see this man in the dark and one of their men on the floor. And this made Chihiro look so fucking cool, bro. I was like, yeah, he's really him. That shit was fire, right? And then we see a phone on the table, right? And it starts buzzing. And then the guy picks up the phone, and he's like telling him like, yo, like, I'm good here. I don't need no help, whatever. And then we see that Chihiro destroyed like the other men with him. And then the guy's like, what do you want from me and shit? And that panel was so fucking cool, bro. When he showed the last panel, kill the two guys, is on in the chair expecting information out of the guy. That shit was really cool. It was definitely Batman-esque for me a little bit, besides the killing part. And so we actually cut away again. We actually see that Sojo is about to fight the members of the police force, those 5 dudes, and they immediately like activate this rock that pushes all of them into the sky, right? And then we actually get to see that Chihiro informs the group about Cloud Gauger's 3 abilities. He talks about how it has Yu, which is ice, Ku, which is water, and then Mei, which is lightning. And talking about how lightning's like the most strong attack. That's the one that like will literally kill any normal sorcerer. They come up with a strategy, and then we cut away back to what's happening in the present, and we see all of them like on this big rock pillar, and they start jumping this man. They start jumping Sojo, and Sojo's doing really good keeping up with like 5 people. And then while this is happening, it constantly like cuts back and forth, Chihiro explaining the abilities more in detail to the group and explaining them what their strategy should be. He's telling them that you got to get hit with a bunch of constant attacks, and don't let him charge up the Mei, because if he charges up the Mei and hits y'all with it, you will not survive, right? He's telling them that probably because he has Ko and electricity, he's probably going to hit y'all with Ko and then try to shoot y'all all with electricity so he can hit y'all all at one time. And if he does that, let him hit you with the electricity, because if he does that electricity, he still has an interval before he can do the more powerful electricity attack. So if you get hit by that baby electricity, you won't get hit by the bigger one, and y'all have a chance to defeat him. And so they do his plan, right? And they get hit by the baby electricity. After that happens, they realize that, okay, we got hit by the baby electricity, so he can't do electricity again for a whole 10 seconds. Like, this is our time to jump him. And then right when they're about to jump him, right, it actually cuts away back to the people in the lab. And the guy's explaining to Chihiro that, yo, like Char is in that lab that's down that house over there. And there's a bunch of guys there. You're not gonna be able to beat all of them. And then right when that guy's talking about it, right, we actually get to see, like, I think it's Chihiro thinking about what his father said years ago. And his father is saying the enchanted blades have a true realm beyond the theoretical. Its source material, Datenseki, is a natural mineral. I can't really put this in words, but theoretically its limitations can completely transform based on its holder. So basically this chapter is setting up that depending on the wielder can make the swords more powerful than they normally would be. So the stronger the user, or the stronger the user's mind, the more powerful the swords can become. And we both see on the final panel Sojo and Chihiro, right? So they're basically like hyping up once again, they're like, yo, these two enchanted blade users are getting stronger and stronger, and when they meet again, it's gonna be the true realm of the enchanted blades. And in the next chapter, Chiba ends up teleporting to the crib that Chihiro's at and walks in on like basically his interrogation, and then it's telling Chihiro like, yo, I'll go there and try to get Char, but remember, do not fight anybody, like you're in no condition to fight. And so Chihiro shows up at the base that Char is at and is like thinking about like, dang, okay, I gotta sneak on them and shit like that. And then right when he's thinking that, right, he's thinking like he's in the clear, and then he turns around, there's like this shinobi type of guy that ends up popping up on Chihiro, right? He knocked Chihiro down to the ground, and Chihiro was like in front of like 5 people, right? And they're telling him like, how'd you know that Chihiro was here? And then the guy's like, I smelled blood, so I went to check. And he's like, they're in bad shape, someone hit him right in the vital. So he's talking about like how he's still recovering from his fight with Sojo. And then the guys start jumping Chihiro, right? And he's able to like dodge them, but he's still getting hit. Like he's definitely like not fighting as good as he was before he fought Sojo. And then he's like, dang, should I use Nishiki? There's too many of them, about to pass out. And then he ends up using Koru and like slicing like the lights off, and then he ends up escaping, right? And he's like in a corner, like literally backed into a corner, just hiding. He's like, if only I could use my left arm. If only my body was in shape. If I was at full power, could I save her? And he starts thinking about all the things that happened, right? And he's like, if I was at full strength, could I save her? And he's like doubting himself. He's like, bro, can I even do, would I even be able to do this if I was like not even hurt? And he starts thinking about everything, like Sojo, Char, and then he really starts thinking about his dad, and we get a flashback. And then his dad's like, Chihiro's getting chilly out. And then Chihiro's like, yo, like, dad, I just want to know if there's like a point. I watch you working every day. I also studied from books about sword forging, but the more I learn, the more I'm sure that I can never be like you. And then his dad's like, yep, you can never be like me. That when he said that shit, I was like, damn, bro. He like, I mean, you're right, but damn. And then Chihiro's like, yo, your son's being all vulnerable and that's all you can say. And then Rokuhiro's like, you're logical like your mom, Chihiro. You're so serious and that's why you get all like this. And he's talking about like his face. And he says, it's great that you're so serious about what I teach you and all. I appreciate that, but don't get too fixated. If you try to always follow in my footsteps, it will be a waste that you were born as Chihiro Rokuhiro. And he's basically telling him like, it will be a waste if you try to just be like me, because you're your own person. You're your own being. We have the same like last name, but you are you. You're not me. So it would be a waste if you try to be like me, because you should try to be the best of you. And then Rokuhiro's like, become like me, don't make me laugh. He's like, how can you be like me when you can do so many things I can't, like cooking and cleaning? And then Rokuhiro's like, yeah. And then Chihiro's like, and caring for the goldfish. And then like Rokuhiro's like, yeah. And he's like, well, anyway, you start to get like this, keep a cool head and be more flexible. I'm saying you got to find your own shape to make with your hands. And then Chihiro's like, okay, like basically I got to come up with something to make me tee up, like come up with a hand movement to tell me that I'm that guy. Like I'm teeing up, I can do this. And so he grabs like his thumb and like puts it over like his left eye and like pushes it to the side. And it's basically like him telling him like, yo, this is my keep a cool head, like don't get nervous, like tee up, right? And so we cut away to these doctors with Char saying like, okay, it's time to start our next experiment. And then also talking about like, yo, there's this guy that's here and he like ran off with his tail tucked between his legs, like he pussy, like he trash, right? And then we see Char looking at the doctors and thinking like there's no hope for you. We see this woman there, right? So we cut back to the guys looking for Chihiro, and then they see a bunch of fish start walking around, right? And the Chihiro's like, N10 has 3 powers: Nishiki, cloaking; Aka, absorbing; and Kuro, long range attacks. And when he says like, sorry Char, this is the end, when he first said this, I thought like, oh man, he's about to like try to take himself out and them out. But we actually learned he said this because he's saying like, I'm sorry Char that you had to wait this long. This is the end of your suffering. Like I'm gonna tee up, everything's gonna be fine from here. And then right when he says that, right, a bunch of fish, even more, come out, and they're all covering the whole area, and everyone sees Chihiro, and he says like, I'll put it into it all. And he says, Kuro, shred. And then we head to the next chapter, right? And then we cut away to another flashback, and it's a flashback of actually Char and her mom, and they look exactly alike. Her mom literally just looks like an older version of her. It is saying like, yo, you can't tell anybody about your special powers unless it's someone very, very, very special to you, and I told your father and he couldn't handle it. You got to tell someone that makes you the happiest person on the planet and that makes you feel special. And then Char's like, aren't you happy, mom? She says, no, I'm not just happy because I have you, Char. I'm the happiest person on earth because I have you. And then we cut away back to Chihiro, and he's like once again saying, sorry, Char, put an end to it all, talking about how like, I'm sorry they get to deal with all this for so long. I'm putting an end to your suffering. And the guy, the shinobi from the last chapter, starts pulling up saying like, yeah, I show you think like fish are gonna scare me. In your condition, you couldn't hurt a fly. And then Chihiro turns his like sword, and then it instantly like cuts the dude in half, and the guy couldn't even process for a second that he literally was cut in half, and it even cut through like iron gauntlets. And then everyone's like, what, in just a single cut? And then Chihiro explains that no, not in a single cut. With these mini Kuro attacks, it's like a hot knife through butter. It uses the same amount of spirit energy as a regular Kuro, but it's not as strong. In return, it allows for more compact, rapid slashes. Kuro Scatter is a school of tiny Kuro. Kuro Scatter is a school of tiny Kuro. Chihiro didn't hit him with a single slash, but a combination of 20 mini attacks. In exchange for rampant spirit energy consumption, it enables high-powered compact swings without taxing the body. He didn't create it from a pail of logic. Instead, it was a sudden breakthrough to compensate for his ravaged body, created by instinct. And in that state of extreme concentration, his innate understanding was accelerated. And we see like his eyes are like full with this determination. And he says, Nishiki, and he just disappears, and the guy's like, he's gone, and he kills everybody there. 4 people, done, right? And then we cut back to Char's flashback, and Sojo's like, over a decade ago, not long after the war, when those rumors spread, the Kanogai's colony was ravaged. The whole clan was exterminated. It was quite the story. And we see Char and her mom inside of like a cage. But just the other day, a certain man showed up with information to sell. At the time of the massacre, a single girl escaped. She was 13 years old back then. She now lives in secrecy with a child of her own. Through your own lived experience, it should have been obvious that this blood of yours come with a steep price, but it seems you were blinded by that chance of happiness and spawned another your kind into this hell of a world. This is once again showing that Sojo's just like evil as fuck. So Char's mom told Char that like she told someone a long time ago, and it's believed to, like she said, it's like Char's father. So that means that Char's father snitched on both his daughter and her mom, bruh. That, which is really fucked up. That's fucked up that like this one person you believed in and that you like she trusted basically sold her and her daughter out to Sojo and basically the Hasaku. And then Sojo's like, well, for my part, I appreciate that now I got like experiments. I got 2 people that can give a sample. And then Char's mom starts apologizing, like, it's all because of my blood. It's all my fault. I'm so sorry. If only I weren't your mother, you could have had a happy life. And then Char's like, it's okay, mom. I'm happy because I'm with you. And then we cut back to Char with these like goons and shit, and then they're talking shit like, come to think of it, this kid's mom was reckless. It was pretty impressive when she escaped her cell. She stole the key from the guard right and killed a bunch of guys. And then we see that Char's mom was able to get them out of their cell, and then Char's mom ends up like sending Char away and says, I'm sorry I can't go with you, I'm stay here to fight them off while you escape. Char's like, I don't want to leave you, I'm happy when I'm with you, I just want to be with you. And then Char's mom's like, no, there's no way you're staying here, I want you to have a happy life, and there's no way you can have a happy life here, and what's best is for you to leave. And then they talk about how like, oh, it didn't take long to rebuild the equipment she destroyed, and we got the kid back too. We cut back to like present day, and we actually get to see one of the dudes that actually like broke down Char's mom's door to actually like get her. And then he's talking to this other goon saying like, yo, if you hear like, if you see a slight change from that intruder, let me know. And then right when he says that, right, there's this dude on the building, and he sees the guy that just said that is on the floor just dead, right? And he's like, what the hell? Like, yo, the guy's here. And when he's screaming that out loud, you actually see that behind him is Chihiro right there about to slice his head off. And then you see these other goons like, yo, did you hear that? And they turn around and see the dude that was just talking falling from the fucking building, right? And then the goons that was talking shit to Charles, like, it was all in vain, your mother's death, your escape, all of this. So they can like say once again that her mom is dead, but we never see the body. So she could still be alive, but for now they're saying that she's dead, right? And then we see the 2 guys that saw that dude fall off the building like, yo, they're all dead, and telling the goons like, yo, like, come here. And then we also see that if you look behind them is Chihiro right there. He's also behind them, right? And so the 2 goons talking shit was like, oh man, I can't believe like that guy's still going at it, like let's go like cut loose, let's go tee up. And they activate this their ability called Demon Cloak, where they put like these masks on, and right when they say that, it don't even matter, bro, because they instantly, their heads get cut off, right? And then Char sees Chihiro and is thinking about her mom, saying like, after all, you're the one who taught me, even after hitting rock bottom, if you just hang in there, you can still become the happiest person on earth. And we see Chihiro and he says, you hungry this time, and brought the sandwich and says it's not squashed. Char grabs the sandwich and like just starts bawling her eyes out, saying like, Chihiro, like, what took you so long? And when I read that chapter, it just made me so happy. It was so cool, bro, because Chihiro basically had to like tee up. He had to be like, yo, I don't care that my body's hurt. I don't care that I'm in pain. I need to tee up and do what I need to do to save my friend. And he teed up. He one-shotted basically everyone in that lab, bro. He went on a tear. He went on a demon tear. And I just love seeing this man go fucking crazy. And especially when he's going like fast as fuck. I love seeing the panels and the swishes of him like the mangaka emphasizing that he's moving fast as fuck. And I love that in the chapters, like if you don't pay attention to the panels, you won't be able to see him. Like he's black, and most of the background you can tell to take place at night is also black, so it's kind of harder to see him. And I think that's really, really cool. So we're finally at the last chapter of this coverage, right? I've been recording for almost an hour, so I have to cut a lot out because I was fucking up a lot. But this is the last chapter that was released at the time of this video, and from now on, I'm gonna try to keep up with Kagurabachi and dropping weekly reviews like for how Kagurabachi, JJK, and Chainsaw Man. And if you made it this far in the video, thank you guys so much for watching the video. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you want to see more of Kagurabachi, Chainsaw Man, and JJK. I really do appreciate all the support, especially the last few weeks. And also, I'm doing a Dragon Ball Z movie rewatch like right now. I'm going through all the Dragon Ball Z movies, so if you are also interested in that, subscribe. But anyway, let's get back to the chapter, the final chapter of this video. And so Char gets on the back of Chihiro and it says like, are you okay? Like, want to switch? And like, she's also done this. I haven't said it, but she also did this with Hinao, where basically she gets on the top of the back of someone and it's like, oh, do you want to switch? Acting like she can actually like carry them when she can't. Chihiro starts saying that Nishiki augments a single blow of the hand or foot with high density spirit power, but that Nishiki just now aided the movement rather than augmented it. It's a new method that puts less stress on the body. So everything he did, that whole frenzy he went on, well, it's because he activated Nishiki instead of like on his body and like his legs and his arms. He actually put it on his whole body, so it added less strain to him, so he was able to make those supernatural movements without him actually having to do the supernatural movements with his own body, if you get what I'm saying. Like, he's still using his body, but he's not having to like strain his muscle, use his bones, use his actual, not use those pieces to move around that fast, and was able to have the high density energy do it for him, which from now on we'll probably see characters or him do it more often. It's still cool as fuck, and it's interesting that he's so fast without that, because he's doing that now. He didn't do that before, because he's saying that Nishiki just now aided the movement rather than augmented it. He said life stress is good, but screaming pain is still screaming pain. Like, he's saying like that did help, but you know, he's still in pain from earlier, so it's like he's still hurting and shit like that. And then Chihiro's like, we can't switch car. Besides, this pain is nothing compared to what you've been through. He's talking about like his pain and talking about her pain, about how she's literally getting like limbs ripped off, like skin, muscle, and whole body parts ripped off, bro. He's like, yo, bro, it's okay. Like, this pain is not even close to yours. Char's like, oh, by the way, is Hinao okay? And then Chihiro's like, she's good and shit like that. And then Char keeps looking at Chihiro's hand and sees that like it's not good. And she's like, your hand, it's not fine, Chihiro. And then Chihiro's like, don't worry about it. And then we get a flashback as we see Sojo say, just as we suspected, the regenerative abilities of the Kanon guy can influence the cells of others. Our goal is in sight, but how come it's still not working? So once again, this goes back to what I said earlier about they can see that her cells are affecting the Datenseki, but it's not working for some reason, and they don't know why, and we find out why. And so Char says to Chihiro, like, give me your left hand. And the Chihiro gives her his left hand. We get a flashback to Char and her mom. Why do my owies always heal so fast? And then Char's mom says, it's a special power that just you and me have, Char. How do you feel when you get an owie? And then Char's like, it hurts. And then Char's mom's like, do you like it? And Char says, no. Char's mom says, the reason it heals is because you want to stop the pain. The reason it heals is because you want to stop the pain. And then Sojo says, another failure. The numbers show the cell's influence on others, but it's still not working. And then Char's mom says, what matters most is wishing. If you wished hard enough, you can heal any injury. So the reason that Datenseki isn't working with Char's cells is because she doesn't want it to. She's not willing it to. And if Char wanted it to, it would. So that's why it's not working. That's why they're not able to like harness the power of the Datenseki, because Char, it doesn't want it to. But Char wants to heal Chihiro, so her powers actually start working on Chihiro, and she ends up healing his hand. And right when that happens, the full moon is getting like encompassed by the clouds and shit. And we see that Shiba actually pops up. Mr. Shiba, please take Char from me. And I think this is when Shiba and Chihiro both sense that like, yo, that dude's here. Sojo is here. So Shiba takes Char, and then Shiba's like, honestly, Chihiro, you're the one who should do this. Like, still, I can't help but worry. And then Chihiro's like, it's okay. And then Shiba's like, surprised. And then Chihiro starts moving his hand, and then he does like the paper rock, and then he's like, Char, you healed me, didn't you? Shiba's about to teleport away, and then Char's like, Chihiro, don't die. And then Chihiro's like, yeah, I got this. And so Chihiro like starts like unsheathing his sword, and it says N10. And then we actually get a cutaway to what actually happened with the Sojo versus the police fight. Right when they were about to jump Sojo after he did that electricity attack. Right when they're about to jump him, it looks like they got the upper hand. They even start like a tag team attack where they're about to shoot the guy with the mask at Sojo, and they start charging at him, and they actually managed to hit him. Right when they hit him, they actually managed to grab Cloud Geiger. And then everyone's like, yeah, we got this in the bag, like it's over. And then right when Sojo says May, his sword starts lighting up even in the dude's hand. I think it ends up cutting him, like cutting his arm. And then the sword teleports to Sojo. And then we actually see that I think the sword also cut through the other dude and went through the rock. So it cut through two members. It cut through the guy that had the sword earlier, and then it also cuts through the guy with the mask that hit Sojo earlier. And then it ends up going into Sojo's mouth. Pause. And then they all like start freaking out, like moving the phase 2, like, yo, y'all gotta use the ability now. And then Sojo like immediately goes through the blonde haired dudes and cuts off his arm. And I think he hits the side of the girl's like head. I don't know if she's dead. I don't know. We still don't know if everyone here is dead, but I definitely think the dude with the hat, the face mask or whatever, he is definitely dead, bro, because half his body is gone. Actually, I don't think it was the sword that hit that dude with the mask. I think it was actually the boulder, because it looks like more of a circular shape than like a small sword shape, because it looks like, bro, like the whole boulder outline is his whole like side, bro. That nigga got cooked. And Sojo starts saying, I could sense that the more I used it, the more I was able to harmonize with Cloud Geiger. It's not all that surprising that the intervals got shorter. What's notable is what happened next. Instead of releasing the built-up May, I tried cloaking instead. A bit time-consuming, but all in all, your example has been helpful. And he's talking about when Chihiro said meeting electricity with electricity. Even as he sensed their deaths, he remained focused, sinking even deeper into concentration. And so it seems like he's insinuating that like everyone in that group has died. I don't know, but that's what Chihiro is saying right now, or thinking about right now, that like, oh, I don't know if he's thinking that. He said like he can sense their deaths. So I'm guessing like he knows that they're dead. I don't think he's assuming just because Sojo's here that they're dead, but like they could still be alive, but right now it seems like they're also dead. So then we get this nice full page spread where Chihiro and Sojo looking at each other. And then Sojo says, I thought you wouldn't be able to move for a while. Besides, you seem to have a deeper understanding now, too. And they're talking about how, like, we both have gotten stronger with our swords and have a deeper understanding of new abilities. And then Sojo says, yes, there is much we have to talk about, but what we need now isn't words, it seems. The narrator says, both of them suffered great wounds and were exhausted from battling. Both deepened their understanding of the sacred blades, and at this point in time, they intuitively sense the time limit of the sword's ultimate attacks. They just happen to coincide. And then Chihiro says Nishiki, and then Sojo says May, and then 12 seconds later, the battle would last a mere moment. And we see them basically both teleport. One with Nishiki, and then one with electricity with May. And that's the end of the chapter. And that's where we end off. This was I don't know how long the video is going to be, because I've recorded for an hour, but I messed up a lot. I had to like stutter and like mess up a lot, so I will go back and edit. So I don't know how long this video will be, but I reviewed chapter 4 to 16 of Kagurabachi, and I hope I can emphasize in this video how much this manga is like really, really good. It's really, really good. I like the writing. I like the characters. I like the action. I like the abilities. And Chihiro is a really, really good main character right now. It's really, really great. And Sojo is a great first villain. He is nefarious. He is awesome. He is evil. This man is super evil. Super messed up. When we first saw him, that chapter where he went, killed the brother of that trauma guy, killed Daruma, and then pulled up into Chihiro's crib and then beat the fuck out of him. And then he did an anti-jumping. He was getting jumped by literally like elite force and the police, and then beat all of them, supposedly killed all of them, and is like got hurt during that fight and is still pulling up on Chihiro to fight. And then we also had cool moments with Chihiro where he had to fight Sojo, and then he had to deal with this this lab place and save Char, and then teed up and did this new version of Nishiki. This first arc is so good and shows the potential of Kagurabachi, and it really looks like Kagurabachi is gonna have a lot before this series ends. And the pacing's pretty good. I do feel like some of the chapters do have a lot of rambling sometimes, a lot of words, and they really don't be talking about anything too crazy, but it's mostly when it's ever Mr. Azami and Shiba. I feel like that's the only problem so far I've had with the writing a little bit. So some of the dialogue, I'm like, okay, this didn't need to be there, or this could have been more condensed. But overall, the art, the paneling, the pacing's been pretty good. We're only like 16 chapters deep, and we're basically getting the end of this arc, and it's a really, really good first arc that's introducing us to the worlds. And we still have so many other villains we still have to go through. Like, I was scared when the manga first started that, like, man, it feels like they're kind of rushing it. But no, we like Sojo came out of nowhere, and then he was built up over this time frame, and it's just been very, very good. But thank you guys for watching the video. Leave a like, subscribe, make some more content like this, and hit that bell post consistently. And like I said, Kagurabachi content will keep on going. I will keep this weekly Kagurabachi stuff whenever the chapters drop, just like Chainsaw Man and JJK. Keep it going. Once again, I'm gonna see you guys next time, and let me know down below what you think about Kagurabachi. Are you hyped about everything going on? Everyone I've talked to has said that like they agree, like they get so good and so peak. So just let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys for chapter 17 on Sunday when it drops. So peace